Welcome back to the War Room. I'm honored to be joined by Curt Mills, a true intellectual here in the War Room. He does great work, and I thought he'd be the perfect person to bring on to walk through everything that is going on in Iran. Obviously, you guys have seen the death, right, in a helicopter. There's some mixed reporting. I know it seems like the West is suddenly embracing this guy. The way they're mourning his death, you would think the guy was a hero. I guess they forget Iran is one of the largest state sponsors of terrorism. But hey, if you look at what they're funding on college campuses here, it's no surprise that they would probably support that. But before we get into the geopolitical ramifications, I know you have some thoughts on sort of the succession, how this is all going to play out. Your thoughts, what you're seeing, speculation, his death, was there foul play involved? Was it truly an accident? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so obviously, in such a momentous year, nobody really had the Iranian president falling out of the sky. So this is quite the tarot card to emerge here. I think what is important to remember is that President Raisi was functionally the second most important person in Iran. The Iranian supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, is the person who ostensibly calls the shots in the country, and there was a view that Raisi was the next man up. The only problem was that his chief competition was Khamenei's son, Mujtaba Khamenei. And so if there was to be foul play, and I think, again, base case here, there was not. It's a sort of rough part of the world. Helicopters, sort of notoriously unsafe, not super clear why very important people ride in them. But if there was some sort of subterfuge going on, the question really would anchor around who would stand to benefit the most, which is potentially this man's rivals in Iran itself. And I think it's important to note that the ones within the country that are around Khamenei, the son, the impression is that they are actually rather hardline. You remember the missile attack, the barrage of missile attacks that occurred a couple of weeks ago on Israel. Well, actually, Iran essentially telegraphed the attack ahead of time. 99% of the missiles were intercepted. It was basically an entirely cosmetic strike from Iran. That has real consequences. That there are those in the country itself, particularly, and of course, the regime, that wants to see something more akin to a holy war with the West, and they have not gotten it, right? Donald Trump took out Qasem Soleimani in early 2020, basically an entirely cosmetic response from the Iranians. We have not seen the real bite from this country in some time, and it begs the question, is this the moment where that could actually happen?
So what are the ramifications for this from the United States' perspective? Do you think you're going to see Iran double down, become more radical? Is there going to be, when it comes to Israel, how do you think this is going to play out? We only got a few minutes. We'll have you back to walk through it more, but just kind of from a bird's eye view, how do you think this is going to affect the region?
I mean, I think the real question here is, does the calculus change where these actors are no longer waiting for the election? I think the base case was that Netanyahu in Israel was waiting to see the result of the election. The base case was that Putin was waiting to see the result of the American election. And the base case was the Iranians themselves were trying to figure out if they even had an American administration to negotiate with. But, 6 months or 5.5 months is a long time. And if the supreme leader were to die and there were to be a succession crisis, and additionally, the Iranians have every reason to believe that Trump would be bad news for them, although potentially not as bad news as a more hawkish Republican or a more neoconservative Republican would be. Do they want to reshuffle the deck now? And this kind of event does raise the question of whether or not we would see rapid escalation in the region ahead of November.
Curt, if people want to follow you, read your work, like I said, we'll have you back. Sorry, we got cut short. But if people want to do all that, support your work, where can they go to do all that?
Sure. Please check out the website, theamericanconservative.com. great magazine founded 22 years ago. You can read my work at CURTMILLS on X/Twitter. I think if you really want to understand the sort of ideological valences, the debates that are going on in the Trump right in any kind of in-depth way, we're your resource.
Before I ever had you on the show, I first came to you through your epic takes on Twitter, so I highly recommend following him. Curt, thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it, Natalie.
Of course.